This guy's garage. Like and subscribe.
Well, yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And just to recap, because it was a number of days ago, at the end of Thursday's meeting, we obviously witnessed a surprised filibuster from the Liberals to talk out the clock until the meeting ended. And thankfully, we were able to suspend this meeting. And I thank colleagues for that, because I do believe this is an important issue. Now, well, the Liberals' intent obviously was to avoid a vote unexpectedly at the end of the last meeting regarding the order of production of documents regarding the complete contribution agreements for the Net Zero Accelerator Fund, which was the topic of major conversation from all parties with the Environment Commissioner before us. Now, this was that same program that Environment Commissioner had discovered that due diligence was not always, if rarely, done before approving any of the government funding. And the Commissioner also found that there was really no clear demonstration of the project's value for money in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. The Commissioner had also found that the initiative was not part of any coherent or comprehensive industrial policy on decarbonization whatsoever. And the Commissioner also found that there was a risk of double counting when tracking emissions reductions, which is, of course, of major concern, particularly given the government made the announcement of their national inventory reporting that same day. The Commissioner found the government did not follow some of the principles of calculating emissions, which throws into doubt the numbers that they announced just a couple hours prior to that. And the Commissioner found that in one project, the department did not include all relevant information in the greenhouse gas assessment exercise, breaching the principles of transparency and completeness. Now, I could go on about the Commissioner's compelling testimony that day, but I think my point is understood and recapped effectively for members and Canadians. But the reality is that the Liberal government has badly mishandled their $8 billion program, and given that the Environment Commissioner can't come to a conclusion as to whether or not we received value for money, I have no idea how Canadians could possibly figure out if there's been value for money. Perhaps with that, I know there's a long speaking list, but my hope is that we can get through this very quickly so we can finish any other committee business and get on to our next study. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Totally open to the notion that we produce more evidence on this. The reality is, in my riding, I've talked about the poor air quality in Halton, and having gone to McMaster University and seen the belching black fumes of smoke coming from Dofasco is an eyesore and a lung sore, and leads to negative health outcomes. So that news was very, very welcomed, that they were going to pursue an electric arc technology for steel production in my region, right in line with the Conservatives' approach to technology. This is precisely what we're talking about when we talk about taking innovative steps forward and supporting innovation at the business level and within academia and science is the approach that our government has taken. And for a number of large-scale businesses at Algoma Steel, Dofasco, and Hamilton, it's been a real success story. I want to see success stories in Brant County and in southern Manitoba, outside of Quebec City, and all across the country. So let's get to it. The only issue we have is with the amount of time to get good documents. So we'd ask for 14 days. And we can collectively vote. We don't even have to vote, actually. We can move on to other business as long as we all agree.
Proposed sub-amendment?
If it's necessary to...
Or is it you see, we all agree 14 days is reasonable?
Yeah, but we still have more discussion.
I understand, but now that can we just get rid of the sub-amendment? Or what the amendment?
The extension? Yeah. So the ask is?
14 days instead of 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're good.
Tout le monde est d'accord?
For today. Are you done, Mr. Vancouverden? Yes. On to Mr. Major.
Me? Thank you, Chair. The matter before us today is extremely serious. There is a glaring problem here that should alarm every Canadian. In fact, after hearing the Environment Commissioner's testimony and reading his report, I think this may be the most expensive cover-up since Justin Trudeau was elected. In December 2020, the Liberals announced the Net Zero Accelerator. They charged taxpayers $3 billion to fund it. Less than 1 year later, they doubled the spending and announced another $5 billion for this government program, increasing the total cost to $8 billion. Yes, $8 billion. It is very important to note that the Liberals claim the purpose of this Net Zero Accelerator was to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Their plan was to give away billions in tax dollars to large companies in exchange for a specific reduction of emissions. Usually when a government announces $8 billion in spending, they brag about it for years and talk about the results. But ever since the Net Zero Accelerator was established, we've barely heard a word from the Liberals on this $8 billion program. And now we know why they've been so quiet. Last week, Canada's Independent Environment Commissioner revealed that the government's Net Zero Accelerator is nothing more than another slush fund. He concluded that the Liberal government, and I quote, did not effectively manage the Net Zero Accelerator to decarbonize the manufacturing industries in accordance with Canada's climate goals or with due regard to value for money for Canadians, end quote. Not only did we learn that the government was giving...
Sorry, I don't know if it's point of order or not, but I believe the member opposite was just referring to something that the Commissioner said when he was here, and he did not call it a slush fund, so I'm just wondering whether there's something that can be corrected in terms of the record, or...
Could you speak to that? I mean, look, I think you were interpreting what the situation is all about. Did you say you didn't say it was a slush fund?
No. What was? I'm sorry. Could you read it again?
Oh, I didn't say that. Okay, I'll say it again here. Let me go back to that. So I'll read it again. Last week, Canada's Independent Environment Commissioner revealed that the government's Net Zero Accelerator is nothing more than another slush fund.
I don't believe that's what he revealed at all. I've read his report, and he did not say that or reveal that in any way. So you must have listened to a different commissioner than I did, because that's not what I heard him say, and that's not what I read in his report. So perhaps you could reference that.
It's a bit of a point of debate, but I think I think Mr. Mazier is interpreting he's interpreting the larger context. The commissioner clearly did not say that, and for the record, okay, go ahead, Mr.
Okay, he concluded that the Liberal government, and I quote, did not effectively manage the Net Zero Accelerator to decarbonize the manufacturing industries in accordance with Canada's climate goals or with due regard to value for money for Canadians, end quote. Not only did we learn that this government was giving away billions of dollars without measuring the value for money, we also learned the government has no clue if the money is reducing emissions. The Environment Commissioner literally stated the majority of funding was approved by the Liberals without any commitment to reduce emissions.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Point of debate, but
well, no, it's not, because we can't freelance on the Attorney General and the Commissioner of the Environment's testimony when they come and they read their speech. I don't think it's appropriate for us to politicize non-partisan
it's not a
people.
Point of order.
And like
it's not,
this,
well,
this committee has continued. I'm not done. My point of order is coming.
Yeah.
And look, this committee is continually being used as a place to protest various things by the Conservatives. Fine, it's their time. However, the Commissioner of the Environment,
what's the point of order?
$8 billion.
The Minister of the Environment did not come here and say any of those things. What he said was that in addition to other investments, decarbonizing steel production in Canada was one of those tools
this is debate,
that has been used.
This is debate, but is that the
well,
point
it's
of order?
protest at committee, and it's a waste of time.
Okay, but what I think
waste the time to consider $8 billion.
Colleagues, when the chair has the the floor.
We agree
The
with
chair
you.
has
We're going to
the
go.
floor.
We're going to do.
Or
your
we'll
thing.
have a break. We'll have a break and just prolong this meeting. But the words of independent watchdogs are used politically all the time in this business. But anyway, go ahead, Mr. Mazur.
So the Environment Commissioner literally stated that the majority of funding was approved by the Liberals without any commitment to reduce emissions. Think about that. The Liberals are giving away billions of dollars in the name of emission reductions without knowing that there will be...
Excuse me, is this a point of order or a point of debate?
Well, maybe you can clarify a challenge when a member is quoting or saying that he literally said...
Yeah. You get on the speaker's list.
No, but there's got to be something about facts, about lying in committee. He didn't state that the Liberals had done that.
Well, could you repeat what you said?
No, he stated the Government of Canada had done that, quite frankly. And if you want to quote the Commission, then get it right.
So could you...
Exactly right. Literally.
Could you repeat what you said about the...
Sure.
Could you repeat what you said?
The Environment Commissioner literally stated the funding was approved by Liberals without any commitment to reduce emissions. It was in the report.
Not literally
it's in the
state
report.
that.
Can I get on with my statement?
Yeah, go ahead. But we know what you're saying. You're saying
Call
the
you a liar
government.
here.
The government. Yeah. The Liberal
You're a liar.
government. Okay. Let's go. Let's keep going.
Think about that. Obviously, there's a little bit of a. I've hit a bit of a nerve here, Chair.
Part of the House procedure. This is a part.
Okay, well, I may
this whole
suspend.
court is a part. It is unparliamentary. We're governed by the rules also.
And you're supposed to be governed by the chair. Let's just move on because it's going to degenerate, and then I'll just pause the meeting, and as I say, we'll have to go later. But obviously, let's be careful with how the words we attribute to the commissioner. But keep going, please.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
If I could just ask for clarification from what my colleague across the way said, can we call somebody a liar at committee?
No.
I didn't hear that. Did somebody call somebody?
Parliamentary, and you can't do that. I just want to get clarity for future.
Yeah, I'll find out. We'll just suspend for a minute. The chair does not have the same powers as the Speaker in the House. Cannot censure behavior that brings disorder to the committee. So I have no policing powers per se. But I would just I think we have to be careful of our language in the committee, like we do in the House, and you can continue, Mr. Mazur.
Just a point of clarification.
Sorry,
Yeah.
one
So
more.
whoa. We
Sorry,
gotta
point of
go.
order. There's a point of order. Yeah, go ahead.
It was actually a point of clarification, so if you have another point of clarification, go first.
Sorry.
So
Who's speaking? Is it?
My point, I asked you also if you could, since the member opposite mentioned that the same rules apply here as they do in the House, does contempt of the House in making misleading statements also apply here? Yeah? Okay, so great. So now I know what to say, contempt of the House.
Okay, so as a point of clarification, I'm not misleading anybody.
Yeah.
This is factual. This is what the commissioner said. So the majority of the contribution agreements have no commitment for reductions. He said that. The clerk,
okay,
the
so
clerk
it's
can
a
say
quote, yeah.
it was in his testimony.
Yeah.
So enough of this
you're
misleading and all this
quoting
stuff.
the-
I'm not
you're not
misquoting
misquoting.
anybody.
Okay.
He literally said that.
Yeah.
No, I was referring to the other point where you said he literally stated
Your
that the
point of
Liberal
order
government...
was on this, so that's
and
what
then
I
I
was
raised
speaking
another
to.
one on when you said he literally said, and what you said there was not what he literally said.
Well, we've sort of correct. I think the first one I made the point for the record that he did not literally say that, but in this case there's a quote. I believe you're quoting
He did.
him. Yeah. Okay.
He did it in his testimony.
Yeah.
So being called a liar on that statement, I would ask for an apology.
Again, I have no enforcement powers. If Mr. Van Koop.
I'm more than willing to apologize.
Okay,
to the
there we
member
go.
for calling him a liar.
I shall proceed. The Liberals are giving away billions of dollars, tax dollars, in the name of emissions reductions, without knowing if there will be any emissions reductions. When I asked the Commissioner if the government is being fully transparent about the emissions data they share with Canadians, he stated, and I quote, "No, they are not fully transparent," end quote. In fact, the Environment Commissioner revealed the Liberals are inflating their emission reduction data, even stating the government may be double counting the emission reductions being reported. Yes, double counting. This is absurd, Chair. How can Canadians believe any of their emissions reports if they're fabricating the numbers? Let's define the word fraudulent. According to the Cambridge Dictionary, fraudulent is defined as, and I quote, not what it claims or pretends to be, end quote. According to Canada's Environment Commissioner, the actual emission reduction data is not what the Liberals claim it to be. This sounds fraudulent to me.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair, once again, I was just saying he's making misleading statements. It's suggesting that you're in contempt of the House by making misleading statements knowingly. You are basically saying that what he said may have been happening, in fact, was happening, and that it was done intentionally by the Liberal government. That was not what the Commissioner said, and you are misleading this committee and people listening to it by saying what you're saying. So if you would stick to the facts and just quote the Commissioner, I'd be quite happy. Okay. But when you continue to politicize it the way you are, it's not accurate.
Do I have to pull the video clips again?
Well, I think in terms of...
He did say that, and it is a definition. Fraudulent is a definition in the English language. I can't help that.
Yeah, if I recall, again, it's all about whether
and if they're fraudulent, they're fraudulent.
Well, I think what he said is that the way the system works, it's not, an intention to be fraudulent. The way the system works with different programs, that sometimes you could have a situation of double counting, but it wasn't like the system wasn't designed, in my view, from what I heard, it wasn't designed to be like that. It's just something, a situation that
the problem is it's being
drops out of the way the system is structured. But in any event, continue. But let's try not to create too much conflict. But obviously you have a point you want to make, and make it.
Thank you, Chair. Why on earth is this government giving away billions of dollars without having any idea how many emissions are being reduced, if any? To make matters worse, the government hasn't released the funding agreements to the public. So, we don't even know who this money went to or why. This is absurd. That's why I moved this motion to obtain this information. If the Liberals are spending $8 billion in tax dollars, Canadians rightfully deserve to know what the money is being spent on. There is no reason why these funding agreements cannot be handed over to the committee. The Prime Minister promised that his government would be the most transparent government in Canadian history. But we have continuously witnessed this government block the committee from obtaining information. Not only must we uncover the funding agreements for this $8 billion slush fund, we also need to obtain the progress report of the Net Zero Accelerator. According to the Environment Commissioner's report, the government is also hiding the Net Zero Accelerator's emissions report from Canadians, and I quote, "The tracker is a tool that is designed to measure the Net Zero Accelerator's progress toward an internal target set by the department itself and is not public," end quote. Canadians deserve to know the truth behind this slush fund. In the Environment Commissioner's 2023 report, he stated, and I quote, "The federal government is not on track to meet the 2030 target to reduce greenhouse gas emissions," end quote. It's very clear why the Liberals are refusing to release this information to Canadians. Their environmental record is a failure. In fact, Canada dropped 4 rankings in climate change performance last year, despite this $8 billion slush fund and another carbon tax increase. Chair, I will remind this committee that just last year, another Liberal slush fund was exposed. So I think it's imperative that we get to the bottom of this. Last year, we learned that the Prime Minister handpicked a chair to run another $1 billion green fund. Excuse me. Canadians eventually found the chair of the Green Tech Slush Fund siphoned $217,000 of taxpayer dollars to her own company. That green slush fund was exposed for gross mismanagement and multiple conflicts of interest. In fact, the government official confirmed that no action was taken after these conflicts of interest were exposed. Chair, my point is that there is a glaring history of corruption and cover-ups with this Liberal government. It is essential we get to the bottom of this, given the Environment Commissioner's damning report. Thank you.
I totally appreciate the desire for more information. I wanted to put in context some of these investments and what they mean for our region in southwestern Ontario, as well as Sault Ste. Marie in the context of Algoma Steel. Now, the members continually suggested that there were no earmarked emissions reductions attached to these investments, which is simply not true. The Dofasco project on its own was a $400 million announcement, which will help cut carbon emissions from steel production at that facility in Hamilton by more than half. 60% of their emissions will be reduced. This is widely reported on. I'm not looking at a government document. It's just all of the news that came out on that great day 3 years ago when we were able to announce that by 2028 steel production in Hamilton won't be as dirty as it always has been. I used to actually work in steel in Hamilton, and it's a pretty dirty job, gotta say. My job was sweeping the floor, grinding the rust off of steel that was stored outside. Sturdy job, and doesn't have to be that dirty. Certainly doesn't have to pollute as much as it does. So the CEO of ArcelorMittal was proud. He said that they were proud of the government for stepping up, and that this investment would contribute to a 60% reduction in their emissions. Their emissions being very high, and it'll lower. Both that and the one in Sault Ste. Marie will lower emissions by 6 million tons a year. That's really significant. 6 million tons a year is 6 megatons. That would get us pretty close to under 700 megatons. This is good news. It's really good news for my community. It's really good news, Clean Air Hamilton, and one of my former professors at McMaster, professor of geography, was talking about how important this is. The steel production is filthy, and we can do something about it, and we are. And by 2028, emissions from steel production at Algoma and at Dofasco and Hamilton are going to be quite a lot lower, and it's something that we could all celebrate. And I welcome a vote on this so that we can go to the next item.
Okay. Seeing as we have no more speakers, we'll go to the vote on the main motion. Oh, we did the amendment. It was UC. Okay. Yeah.
Mr. Ali?
Madam Clerk, can we just repeat what are we voting on?
Voting on Mr. Mazur's motion as amended?
No. Yes.
Yeah.
Madame Chatel?
Oui.
Ms. Sidhu?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor-Roy?
Yes.
Mr. Vancouverville?
Yes.
Monsieur Dautel?
Oui.
Mr. Leslie? Mr. Mazur?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Monsieur Trudel?
Oui.
Monsieur Baudresse?
Oui.
All in favor? Yeah.
Effectivement, la motion est adoptée telle qu'amendée. Alors.
The motion is adopted as